I guess shameless plug time. Bauder do a couple of different systems. We'll come back to the green roof solution in a moment, but we have a really unique solution for flat roofs, BauderSOLAR F, and it's a welded solution. So ultimately, we only install on Bauder roofs, but if you have a bituminous membrane or a single ply, we have a welded patch which welds down to the roof. There's no penetration down through the waterproofing, but that patch is what holds the system to the roof. So it's the lightest system for crystalline panels in the marketplace. It's really quick to install, and it's universal from a panel perspective. Probably more importantly than any of that is the fact that we warranty the full system. So if you have a Bauder roof with a BauderSOLAR PV system, there are no clauses within our warranties, or the clauses within our warranties are limited as far as inspections and requiring the solar to be removed from the roof. We will do that as part of our warranty cover, which is invaluable, really. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to skip over that video. But we often these days get projects where we have clients who have a flat roof. They want to install solar PV on top, and so rather than using a single ply membrane, single plies can be more vulnerable than bituminous membranes. So they look at a ballasted system with a bituminous membrane, and I would actually argue that one of our solar PV systems, whether that be Thermofol or one of our single plies, whether that be Thermofol or Thermoplan with the BauderSOLAR system over the top, actually provides a better warranty package than any other bitumen system with a ballasted solution. And it's also lightweight, it's cost effective, it looks good, it's flame free from an installation perspective. So there's lots of benefits there. And a quick case study, this was the University of West of England. This is a robotics lab. It was an existing roof, a distribution center, and we stripped the roof back to the deck, went back with our PIR membrane, Thermofol single ply and BauderSOLAR system, and it weighed less than the previous waterproofing and insulation. So there was no issue structurally. So, green roofs and solar. Now, we will talk about the Irish requirements from a fire perspective in a moment, but many of you will work on projects in the UK. We have really strong policies now for both green roofs and site-sourced renewables, and that is driving this combination approach. Historically, there's been this idea that, what are you going to have? Are you going to have solar, or are you going to have a green roof? And actually, we now have the technologies, we have the tools to deliver both and layer the two. I will caveat this with the fact that actually, if you have the luxury of installing a solar PV system in one area and a green roof in another, do that, because actually it's going to be much cheaper, it's going to be easier to maintain. These are generally new build applications, but largely and more, the drivers will push you to layer the two. So in the UK, we have, well, in London, we have the urban greening factor. In the UK now, we've got biodiversity net gain coming in, which basically means for urban sites, you need to install a biodiverse green roof. In Dublin now, you have the green and blue roof guide. I'll let you guys read that, but ultimately you're looking at a 70% covering for roofs. Now, it does state here, this is important for our conversation in a moment, where roofs include PV panels, the design should consider the appropriateness of the PV panels being positioned over the vegetated areas of the roof. That's an important part of the conversation. But what it then goes on to say is that roof areas that are not considered for green roof due to the presence of solar panels should still be considered for blue roof. So we haven't covered blue roofs today. That's a topic for another day. But ultimately, you're going to have a void layer that can attenuate water with a ballast finish, and then your solar panels put on top, according to the blue roof guide. So we call this combination biosolar roofs. They actually work really, really well if they're done together. correctly. So the vegetation has a cooling effect. It keeps the solar panels cooler. They work. There's lots of different studies coming out, but it usually is somewhere between 4 and 6% more efficiently. And the PV panels help to break up the roof habitat. So you've got more drought areas, more water areas. So you've got more varied biodiversity on that roof. But they need to be done together correctly. They need to be designed together and they need to be installed together. And ultimately, what we have at the moment in both the UK and Ireland is no real guidance on how to install solar PV. Certainly in the UK, we have currently no guidance on flat roof mounting systems, and there is no standard for flat roof mounting systems. The MCS, the Microgeneration Certification Scheme, will be launching a new standard this year for installing on for the installation of flat roofs, but it does not cover for green roofs. And if you just put a solar PV system straight on top of a green roof, this is the kind of thing that you can see. And understandably, as we'll see in a moment, this is why the Dublin Fire Brigade would get nervous about them. But if they're done correctly, they work really, really well. So the FLL, the German Landscape Authority, who are usually ahead of the game, we usually catch them up about 2 years later, has released some guidance for combining biosolar systems. And the main things would be a 200 to 300 millimeter gap between the bottom edge of the panel and the top of the growing medium. And then a minimum 500 meter vegetation barrier, which we have in as part of grow guidance in the UK as well. And then a minimum distance of 1 meter from the panels to any roof penetrations furniture. We hope that similar guidance will get adopted sooner rather than later in the UK. Certainly the GROW organisation is, the Green Roof organisation is pushing for this guidance to be adopted. And this is the system that we manufacture. So we have been installing biosolar systems now for about 5-6 years now. And this is the BauderSOLAR G-Lite. So this is a relatively new system to us. It's our sort of Mark II, if you like. The key thing here is that we have a minimum 300 millimeter height from the bottom edge of the panel to the substrate. There's no, you will get condensation runoff of the solar panels year round. So it will irrigate this area here in front of the panels. But a strimmer can go right in the front of here, and maintenance is really, really straightforward and easy. It's generally installed in an east-west orientation, so the sun will arc across here and we'll get some direct sunlight to most of the roof. We have really specific planting mixes. So we have the Bauder Flora 3, which is drought tolerant, shade tolerant, and low growing. So it works really well. And from a biodiversity net gain or urban greening factor perspective, our growing medium for our green roof acts as the ballast for the solar PV system. So the whole roof is green. There's no penetrations down through the waterproofing at all, no fixings, and therefore the whole roof can meet the criteria for both biodiversity net gain or the urban greening factor. This substrate is non-combustible. And we have a minimum requirement of 80 millimeters for fire eggs. So that is our G-Lite system. Here is a quick case study. This was actually the first project that we installed in the UK, biosolar system, back in 2017. Feels like a very long time ago now. The systems have changed somewhat. We've learned quite a lot since then, but the main thing that's changed is our planting mix. So we do have a much lower, less rich planting mix that's installed now.